All the makings of a memorable Friday night in Virginia. It's the Commonwealth Clash Volleyball Edition. The Hokies and Cavaliers set to go head-to-head in this ACC Network battle. Welcome inside Memorial Gym, everybody. What a privilege to have you with us. Allison Gaskins is here. I'm Jason Patterson. And Allison, everybody surrounding these programs expecting this one to go deep into the night.
Deep into the night. And also, how about this energy between this rivalry? You can already feel it here inside Charlottesville.
One thing we know, a showcase of young players. You look no further than the first year for UVA. Jana Francis already with an expanded role for the Hoos.
Francis is acclimated to the collegiate game, no problem. She's calm, she's collected out there, and she has a steady presence through all 6 rotations. The Cavaliers are also going to be looking for her to hit over 200, averaging 221 hitting percentage in their wins and just 45 in those losses.
There are a trio of key freshman starters for Virginia Tech. And if you want to highlight somebody, look no further than libero Mosley, already in the conversation as one of the best in the ACC.
Mosley also had to beat out multiple upperclassmen to earn that starting libero position. And boy, did she deserve it. She paces the ACC right now in digs per set. She also set the single match record at Tech in digs with 39 earlier this season. What I like about her is her ball control and her ability to control the back row.
A pair of third-year head coaches set to go head-to-head in this one. And you think about Jill Wilson, her start against Virginia has been something to behold. She's been very good against the Cavaliers in her start there in Blacksburg.
Yeah, Wilson 3-1 over UVA. That is an incredible start. Again, we mentioned this rivalry. It's as much a rivalry for the athletes as it is for the coaches. So, a very big competition.
Do you think it holds a little more for Aaron Smith? He's a guy from Richmond. We talked about his family being just down the road in Lynchburg during our last broadcast together, Allison. He's a Virginia guy through and through. He understands the higher stakes when you look at these two teams in any sport out on the floor.
He understands the stakes, but Jason, we talked to him, and he said there was no other team on his roster other than to coach at UVA. He wasn't looking to become the head coach at Virginia Tech. UVA was what he had his sights set on.
Or anywhere else for that matter. You said it. This was his prime locale. 74th meeting between these two squads. Think about it. The split 37-36 Virginia Tech. That's how close it's been in over 70 matches. And we, the long-awaited moment having come, are now underway. And Virginia trying to make an immediate impact as they go through Novakovic right away. But the volley landed in just inside the back line for the Hokies. And it's Virginia Tech coming into Mim Gym and securing the first point.
Which is a big confidence booster. That was Katie Smith getting the touch to push it over for the first kill of the match.
Thomas hailing service for Virginia Tech, and the response is there. They split the first 2 points evenly, about like this series we talked about, and it's Mila Cyprian right there to make the first impact for UVA.
An absolute heater as well. She had the middle of the net opened up for her. She got right on top of the ball, and again, a really strong set for both teams.
Sophomore out of St. John's, Florida, back on the serve line. Boy, just this side of the antenna, but able to will it back and work it across was Serco, and that's how Virginia Tech takes a 2-0 lead.
Serco just embracing that block on the other side of the net.
So here is Mosley. She was the state player of the year in North Carolina, and that has translated from the Tar Heel State to collegiate volleyball in Blacksburg. Jenny able to get some elevation there for Matthews.
That'll be 4 touches by the Hokies. Couldn't control on the left side of the net.
What do you watch for in this one, Allison? Obviously, both these teams trying to get the other out of system, something that has been challenging for each of these squads this year. You get the feeling that the team that plays within system the most tonight can come out on top. But what are the other elements you keep an eye on as we see our first service error of the contest?
And that is a big focus, that service error as well as the serve-receive game. You want to get that first touch, that pass on the ball under control so that you can work in system. You can set up your setter and you can capitalize on any opportunity given. I know for both teams, they're coming off losses, so they're looking to clean up different areas of the game. Specifically for Virginia Tech, it is that block game. That's something that they struggled with in their game against Charlotte.
Immediately into the match and setting it up is Maddie Boylston. the first year out of Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Watch her work to set the table for Madison Matthews' finish. The two Charleston, South Carolina natives working together right up on the net.
And freshmen, both athletes first year at Virginia, connecting really well.
And that's something that we'll talk a lot about tonight. As the point is secured for Virginia Tech and Katie Smith is able to work it across for the Hokies. On both sides, you're going to see young players making all the difference. It's a sophomore Smith who gets the point here.
A good short set there also by Jackson for Tech.
Well, we mentioned a trio of starters for Virginia Tech. You think about the first-year group for UVA as well. It's the block up front for Zier making the difference. We are going to call names of freshmen, sophomores, in the case of UVA, first-year, second-year players throughout tonight to make all the difference on both sides.
Good timing there by Zier to record that block.
End of the net, service error on the other side, something you said you're keeping an eye on. Any other particular area that you think really becomes critical for these two teams tonight?
Well, for UVA, they want to increase their block game. That's one of their strengths of this program. And they kind of struggled in their last two matchups up at the front of the net.
Now work on the front of the net for Virginia Tech paying dividends right now. That's Talon Jackson who works a change of pace across for the Hokies point.
Here's a look at that last play again. A quick over on two from Talon Jackson, showing off that awareness in the center that the court was opened up, so why not take advantage?
Yeah, the Nevada native had a perfect line straight down the heart of that Virginia defense. Rising up and sneaking it inside the far side. The Who's able to battle back. And the start that we're receiving here about what fans expected when they loaded up and came to the gym tonight.
Exactly. A lot of back and forth on both sides. Virginia Tech up just by one, but again, you can feel that energy inside Memorial Gymnasium. I mean, we have a packed house here as well, Jason.
Here's Megan Wilson putting it in action off that serve line for UVA. You said it. Nice crowd into it already. And the first 12 points in this one split near evenly. That was Nick, so it is a point for Virginia Tech at 7-5. Back to the serve line for Virginia Tech now is Jackson, who we heard from right up on the net a moment ago. Virginia with a response. This Virginia team, you remember, you can talk about the loss to Pitt. A lot of teams going to have trouble with the fourth-ranked team in the country as they sit right now, as Virginia did just a couple of nights ago. But this is a team, as you see one of their brighter moments already in this match, Allison, that was on quite a roll before then. They had won 3 consecutive and 5 out of 6 before Pitt came to town to start ACC play.
And there's no more difficult way to open up conference play than with one of the top teams in the nation in Pitt.
Well, and Virginia Tech going to find that out soon enough. Virginia played them to start conference play. Virginia Tech has Pitt next as a part of their opening weekend of ACC action. This is the ACC opener for a Virginia Tech squad that boasts an 8-6 lead to get this first set underway.
It's the first conference matchup of the season for the Hokies. Adds a different element to the game as well.
Pitt waiting in the wings. Of course, Pitt, having climbed to 4th in the country, their highest of ratings, and the team picked to win this conference. And there's a connection. Pitt's only loss this year coming to Penn State, and you know that is the alma mater of the Virginia head coach. Everybody familiar, Aaron Smith, making the trip up there to Pennsylvania, becoming a Penn State alum. He's not the only one. There's a Penn State alum on the other bench as well.
Yeah, one of the associate head coaches for the Hokies, that's John Wasilewski. He also played at Penn State, so a lot of Penn State grads sitting on the bench right now.
And again, the only team able to do anything with Pitt so far this year, that Penn State squad, their alma mater. The Penn State grad, the latter of the Penn State grads, Aaron Smith has to be pleased with what he saw there as his team pulls within 2 at 9-7. That's not the only coaching connection. And the other connection is Virginia Tech drops one in open real estate there. A connection on Jill Wilson's side. She had some personal experience with the Smith family, did she not?
Wilson actually coached Aaron Smith's wife.
How about that?
And that was at Wake Forest.
During her time with the Demon Deacons. Virginia answering back, and these two teams doing just that, back and forth here in the early stages. Walk us through this last point.
I love the quick set right to the center. Madison Matthews on top of it off that vertical jump.
Couple of kills for Madison Matthews, couple of kills for Cyprian so far to lead the way for Virginia. Same thing true for the combo of Smith and Serco on the Virginia Tech side of things. Point for the Hoos here. And now Virginia, as close as they've been since the beginning of this, at 10-9, within one. Here is Novakovic.
That's who you want at the service line.
Elena Novakovic, the Serbian. Outstanding attacker for Virginia. But what she does on the service line, you said it, you want her right there, all the more impressive. 30 service aces to lead this team last year, and guess what? Just starting ACC play, she already has 24 of them total aces to lead the entire ACC. And she gives a nice hand clap as her teammates get the job done here. And Virginia having pulled out front at 11-10.
And that is insane. This early on in the season, 24 service aces. She has it down to a science.
Leads UVA in kills with 143, but you talk so much about the service aces because that's been her work of late. Virginia unable to chase this down as they go into the free zone. And the Hokies pulling even at 11 apiece. So 22 points up on the board, split right down the middle. What have you seen from these two teams so far?
It's been a lot of back and forth. Neither team able to string together a set of runs, a set of points yet. So you want to find that rhythm, that consistency, besides just siding out every other play.
Here's Abby McKenzie, East Leroy, Michigan, the home locale of the senior. Here on the hit for UVA, and Virginia Tech pushes back out front.
French is just a bit off in that attack. That's something that can also kill either side. Just making those attack errors, those unforced errors on your end.
Now contact in there. As you talk about it on cue, we witness it once more. Boylston ended up in the net just a little bit, and here comes another chance for McKenzie, who's camping out on the serve line right now. Trying to change it with a forceful delivery was Sarah Billiard, but a little bit too much underneath it as it missed the back line.
A good attack, though, here by Billiard. And this is an athlete who's been averaging double-digit kills in 4 of the last 5 games played. The only one that she didn't was that game against the number 4 ranked team in the country, Pitt.
Billiard again. This time's the charm for the Virginia attacker. Billiard, who's appeared in each of the games in key moments. Talk about her leading UVA with career-high 368 kills a year ago. That strong arm back and doing some further damage here. And the Hokies with a response up on the net, taking a 15-12 lead. Virginia Tech and Virginia underway in men gym. And that means another college football triple header for you on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. As you can see, Syracuse hosting Holy Cross at noon. Wake Forest against BC in Chestnut Hill, the sandwich game. And then at 7:30, it all wraps up with NC State and Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium. That's our ACC Network primetime matchup presented by Geico. Full slate of football tomorrow. It's that time of year, huh, Allison?
Football season. Teams finding their rhythm. You're about halfway through at this point.
ACC looking very strong. You think in terms of what's happening right here at UVA, Bronco Mendenhall and company, looking pretty stout. The early part of the season as well. A lot left in this campaign and a lot left in this match. So these two teams have already shown us some impressive moments early. What have been your takeaways from this first sequence?
A lot, again, of back and forth. Neither team, I can't feel, have found their rhythm yet. They're trying to control the pace on their side. They're making some of those unforced error in the serve game as well as in their attacking.
One of our best rallies of the night that will come to a close as Virginia Tech comes out of the timeout to stretch the lead at 16-12. Here's another look.
Yeah, that was one of the longest rallies here. You see the triple team, the triple block set up by Virginia but read by the Hokies, no issue.
Katie Smith puts it back in play. Boy, such force on the first delivery, and then the second time is the charm for Madison Matthews, who has been strong in the middle.
Matthews, so powerful. She read it. She was where she needed to be. She got that big hand up tall and immediately smacked it down.
Team best 3 kills on the match for UVA. In there by Matthews, and what a job to dig it out. Down to the deck is Miller. And then finding an open space on that back line, Virginia Tech secures the point.
Jackson again showing off her core awareness, really intelligent with her second touch. She's that assister on the team, so she has that role to either push it over on 2 or decide if you want to set up a hitter. That time making the right call.
Annabelle Zier, we talked so much about Mosley. She's another out of that freshman group for Virginia Tech. Zier, all-straight district region player of the year in her own right. They have some highly decorated youngsters on both these squads as the Hoos battle back with a point at 17-14. This is the point at which Virginia does not want to allow Virginia Tech to slip away. And they're going to turn to Megan Wilson on the serve line to that end. Right up on the net. Somehow kept alive by the Hokies.
Good recovery there.
But to the middle, and there is Mila Cyprian. Well, Cyprian showing the strength of her swing.
No block set up either on the side of the Hokies. You see Cyprian almost left alone here, the solo block, so she had a choice to go right or left. She chose right. Again, got on top of that short set and made the most out of it.
Just a little tickle of the tape there on that serve to work it across. And it's going to end up working to Virginia's favor when all is said and done on this point. Well, who's nearly got the aces that fell on the Virginia Tech side. Took a little longer than that, but the result the same, and the deficit 1. Stays with Wilson once again. Wilson, who gets those starts in the 6-2 system, provides that calming effect for this UVA squad. And there is what you asked for early. You said the blocking game for Virginia will have to be key, and you should expect that Novakovic is going to be right in the middle of it.
Novakovic and Cyprian right next to her, in sync, in rhythm. Those two look really comfortable up close to the net.
Tandem block, pulling Virginia even at 17 apiece. Hokies have been able, every time Virginia has pulled up close, to answer and go back out front. They do so once again here. Virginia took the 1-point advantage at around the 11-10 mark, but this has been the MO for the Hokies. While they've allowed Virginia to pull right up alongside and even slightly past them, they have powered back and will try and string some points together once again here behind Jackson. Boy, real reach needed there for Talon Jackson. That ended up sending it across, even though it was an attempted recovery for Francis. In the end, the Hokies have it set up exactly how they want it.
Powell getting that kill. Just waiting for the ball to make its way over the net. She was nice and patient on that release as well.
Timeout being called for our first stoppage that will hold it here. 19-17, the Virginia Tech lead. You look at the way these two teams are hitting so far. Hokies at a clip of 269 against a 172 clip thus far for Virginia.
Again, it's those errors right now, making a few errors on both sides that are unforced. You want to clean up that passing game, that first touch, so it allows your setter to work in system. Both teams kind of hitting out of system for the majority of the first about 10 points or so, but they've begun to find, that consistency, that work, team effort on both sides.
You can see the big difference in hit percentage there, even though kills and digs, not that much of a split between these two teams. The one that is hitting strong for Virginia is Cyprian. Obviously, we've called her name a number of times. Cyprian hitting at a clip of 800, even though as a unit, the Cavaliers are sub 200 right now, Allison.
Cyprian, with 4 kills, no errors on 5 total swings. That is impressive. So she has the hot hand right now. You're going to expect the setters to feed her more often.
Cyprian, the leader for Virginia thus far. Cyprian, we talked about some of the other sports, and certainly you think about the Commonwealth Clash, you think about all the sports that these two teams play against one another. Cyprian able to get some visibility in another sport. She was one of those student athletes that sang the national anthem in conjunction with one another at the Final Four when Tony Bennett and company claimed the national championship on the basketball side last year. You may remember that before the Auburn game in the Final Four, they had a number of student athletes from around the country related to the teams that were playing, and it was Cyprian out of the entire student body and all the student athletes here at UVA that represented Virginia and did so, I might say, very nicely in that national anthem presentation.
And you know that gave her teammates and her coach chills to listen to. Really incredible.
Able to step up on that large stage, and certainly this large stage of an ACC contest against a rival. She's not shying away from it either. And there's Novakovic. They try to get her involved and do. Out of the timeout, Virginia able to go through Novakovic and pick up a point.
Novakovic also reading the block. She rolled right over the top of the block here. Unable to be controlled by the Hokies.
Novakovic, who has that big swing you just witnessed, can be crafty at times as well. She's certainly a player that you have to know her location at all times. Same thing could be said Same thing could be said. It holds true on the Virginia Tech side with Serco. We have called Serco's name. We've called Smith's name a number of times already tonight. Those two, they've helped lead the way for a Virginia Tech squad that just will not surrender this lead. Across the front line and able to find a little open real estate. Virginia within one.
That's where we can see how poised Francis plays. We mentioned in the open, she has that steady demeanor about her. That time she gets the off-speed touch, passes it over the top of the block.
Talk about young players and their impact. Three-time All-State player at Princess Anne High School was Francis, and she has turned it right into her impact immediately here at UVA. And Virginia Tech with yet another response, and that's been the story of this first set, Allison. Every time Virginia's done something positive, the Hokies have battled right back out front. Back set. Just a little bit too much now. Wanting to try and sell the fact that she was able to get contact from a Virginia player was Serco, but it was not to be. The point goes to the Hoos.
A little too much muscle behind that one.
Full men gym tonight to watch is Jelena Novakovic, the senior out of Serbia, puts it back in action, and she does that as good as anyone. She comes away with the ace once more.
25th service ace on the season. It's the execution she has off that service line. She gets a lot of spin behind the ball. She's able to throw off a defense on the other side. And again, you see the impact that the serve has on the game. Getting service aces not only gets you a kill on the board, but it gives you that momentum that you need to carry through the end of a set.
You go back to that game against College of Charleston on the 13th of this month. 7 aces. That was tied for third all-time in a single match at UVA. We talked about 30 of them last year, and already with a quarter of a century mark having been reached in this one. She's an outstanding player, of course, led the Serbian junior national team to national cup title, multiple gold medal winner. They won the European Challenge in 2014. I mean, she has been a winner at all levels, and the intensity that she brings to her game here at UVA, the type of intensity that can lift this team, Allison.
A true impact player. And we mentioned the Penn State grads that sit on the coaching side of the benches. Well, Novakovic also played at Penn State her freshman season, but you know the Cavaliers extremely happy to steal her away from the Nittany Lions.
That Aaron Smith connection certainly making a difference there in landing one of the best. We mentioned how even this series has been 37-36. Now, of late, it has belonged to Virginia Tech until last year when Virginia won that 5-set thriller.
When you look at the recent history, you look at the last 10 matchups, and the Hokies took 7 of those 10 matches over the Cavaliers. But the Cavaliers, again, getting that last victory here inside Memorial Gymnasium. So they have that to kind of carry into this match, right? You won that 5-setter. You have that belief that you can close out this game. But again, a lot of new faces out here too, so very different setup on both sides.
Now, 1 point in the Commonwealth Clash secured in last night's meeting between the soccer teams for UVA. As the Cavaliers in 5-year-old edition able to have a slight advantage as well, but you know it goes deep in every sport, and we get a back-to-back service ace performance, one before the timeout and one after for Novakovic.
It's the placement of these kills. That one out of reach, that serve, just couldn't get dug up.
Now remember, matched her jersey number in that department against College of Charleston will underscore it. I wonder how many she'll come away with tonight. A couple already back-to-back. A little bit of miscommunication for Virginia Tech, and it's going to result in a point for Virginia. Actually landed in. Correction, pardon me. And it's going to go to, and now a little conversation about it. They're going to check on this.
It was Smith here for the cleanup.
Look at
to
that.
me, it looks like it
caught the
clipped
line
right inside.
And we'll remind you, those of you that are used to following a number of sports, in volleyball, if it makes contact with any portion of the line, it is in, as opposed to being out when on the line in some of the other sports. And that, I'm with you, appeared as if it did make contact with the line. They're going to talk about it, going to take a look at it as well.
One of the challenges, each coach gets 3 challenges at the start of a match. If you go into a 5th set, you get 1 extra. A lot of different things you can challenge. This one, of course, an in or out call. Although from the angle we had on that last replay, Jason, it did look like it landed inside, which would be a kill for Katie Smith.
And if you wonder about it, as we go a little deeper into this one, the reviewable plays are ball in or out, ball contact by a player, a net fault, a service foot fault, and the 3-meter attack line foot fault. Those are all the things that are reviewable. And, of course, this just a straight up, was it in or was it out, being looked at right now.
Very simple, and typically the refs get good looks on these plays. It's not the touch by a player where you have to rely on a really difficult angle to see if it maybe tipped a fingertip or not. But this one, you're looking for that in or out. It's pretty indisputable when you watch a replay.
Going to be ruled in for Virginia Tech, it appears. And let's go ahead and say, what a valiant effort by the front line of the Hokies, as they were just, it looked like that was dead to right. It's going to be a point for UVA, and somehow all of a sudden,
so what happens right now is that you have to go back to your last rotation, because they had already rotated after that last call. So with the reversed call, they need to get back into the rotation, and here's that challenge review system. That's actually that list of things that could be looked at that we'll walk you through there. So under those elements, a stoppage can be received. But again, that point being awarded to Virginia Tech, and what a remarkable job for the Hokies just to find a way to land that in and to push this through the block on the near side. Virginia Tech with back-to-back key points and an advantage of 23-22 as we work toward the tape here. Second kill of the match here for freshman Annabelle Zier. Into the block, gets it to fall right inside. And now timeout being taken. 23-22. Virginia Tech and Virginia entertaining the fans, making it well worth the trip to Mim Gym tonight, as they have certainly entertained them here in the first round. Well, we've got more ACC volleyball for you coming up on Sunday at noon Eastern. Boston College takes on Georgia Tech. And at 4 o'clock, we've talked a lot about those Pitt Panthers. Number 4 Pittsburgh hosting these very Virginia Tech Hokies. Both those matches can be seen on the ACC Network and the ESPN app. Pitt, as fans here in Mim Gym found out a couple of nights ago, very strong, Allison. Yeah, very strong team. Again, that just speaks volumes to volleyball also in the ACC, Jason. You know, we have some top programs. Wake Forest is up there. You know, a bunch of really good volleyball, which only elevates the level of these teams specifically. Well, we talked about how much more difficult it gets for Virginia Tech after this one, as they'll go head-to-head with that group favored to win the conference. And then you see they make a trip through the state of North Carolina before taking on Clemson and then Georgia Tech. That's what's coming up for Virginia Tech. Well, the hardest team to beat is that team, Pittsburgh, right there. You also have FSU, you know, in the ACC, ranked number 23 in the nation, and Wake Forest not there in the upcoming schedule, but another team you have to keep your eye on. I mentioned it, you know, they've only got 1 loss on the season right now. They're 10-1. Their only loss coming against Elon. Yeah, opening conference play with just the 1 loss. You're right, the Demon Deacons, certainly a team to keep an eye on. Well, every point critical down the stretch here, and Virginia Tech will surrender one to UVA, snagged by Matthews, who started so strong and bounces back here to even things at 23. I love the power that Matthews has. She splits the block from the Hokies in that placement. She picked her angle and she dominated. And Francis on the serve line. Good sign for Virginia. The set back, and it's Francis who's able to get down, dig that out.
So the point will go to Virginia Tech. And a first of the set points here belonging to the Hokies after contact with the net. You see right up on it there. Virginia was trying to create a response. Have to now, and will. Far side and slam down with force by Billiard.
A momentum kill right there. All tied up at 24. Choosing that deep angle cross court.
Billiard turning Virginia Tech away at set point. And then an ace secured with a little touch of the tape on the way across. What work by Kelsey Miller there.
3 service aces now for UVA in this match. Something that they struggled with again in their last game just 2 days ago against Pitt. Only 2 service aces compared to 10 given up.
Miller known for her work when it comes to digs. 12 out of the last 13 matches with a double-digit total, and it's this serve here that makes the difference for her right now.
Rolls just off the top of the tape, and that'll change up the speed of the ball coming in, so it's difficult for a defense to try to adjust and get underneath.
So 25-24, Virginia now not only having pulled even with Virginia Tech after the early runs for the Hokies, Allison, but they have pushed out front and are in position to steal away this first set.
And for the Cavaliers, it all comes down to that serve game. I felt like the momentum, Jason, really switched once Novakovic got those back-to-back service aces. They began to build that confidence that they desperately needed to climb their way back into this set. And again, all tied up here. Virginia, or excuse me, not tied up. Virginia just 1 point away.
Yes.
This is set point for the Cavaliers. So
Certainly.
This timeout is super essential for head coach Aaron Smith to regroup his athletes, come up with the game plan. And, you know, they have the serve right now. So you want to be able to get into that transition game off the serve into your defensive positioning very quickly.
That's the point. I mean, Virginia having taken the reins of the match, and as I mentioned, just about to perhaps steal away this first set if they can secure a point here. Led by Cyprian and Matthews, 4 kills apiece, and a trio of them, including the most recent from Billiard. That's how Virginia has pieced this together, but you said it, most of it being done back on the serve line, and that is where Kelsey Miller is located. Set point for UVA, and the fans on their feet in Mim Gym. Kill belongs to Tech's Sarah Powell, the Pittsburgh, North Carolina native, when the Hokies needed her most.
Powell, one of those key freshman athletes for the Hokies.
And before Zier can put it in action, subbing into the rotation, Sarah Jane Lynch for Virginia Tech, the sophomore out of Roswell, Georgia.
Lynch has only played in 6 sets coming into this one.
Virginia across the middle with Cyprian again. Give her 5 to lead the way. And it once again is set point for UVA.
So calm in his approach as well. It's that short set to the dead center, Cyprian connecting very well at Bolston.
Now to remember, it's to 25 in each of the first 4 sets, but you have to win by 2. So Virginia looking for the 27-25 finish. And racing over there to keep hope alive for the moment is Francis, but too many looks at it for UVA. And back even at 26 apiece. Well, I'll say this. The first set, at least, has been everything that fans expected on both sides of this rivalry tonight.
Also what we expected, a really good start energy-wise into this match.
Commonwealth Clash living up to the hype in set number 1. You want to look down there and say, ladies, save something for the rest of the way. Hokies now looking for the advantage. Again, neither team can win it on this point. Good back and forth, one of the better rallies. Virginia Tech anticipating the change of pace from UVA. Read it nicely. And then the block near side. A tandem block. Christine German there, joined by Cyprian once again. And Virginia in position to shut down the first set once more.
Jarman really controlling that block. She pressed right into the net. She didn't leave any room for error, any space.
You talk about energy, how about a service ace to end it? And this building has energy. Virginia, by a count of 28-26, powers back from behind and takes the first set. And this is the volleyball edition of the Commonwealth Clash. Cavaliers up 1-0 despite a solid start for Tech. Back with more from Mim Jim in Charlottesville on the other. Virginia looking like the team that won the Jefferson Cup last weekend. They rode a tidal wave of service aces, Allison, to a first set victory.
2 service aces from Novakovic, and that set the pace. That kind of turned the game around. It set the momentum over to the Cavaliers. Another one by Miller as well as Jarman to close it out. So that belief, that service success is what has been helping the Cavaliers.
Well, and we were already across the 20-point threshold when Virginia started piling up the aces, Allison. And think about this. Jarman with the big block up on the net, followed by the service ace to nail it down. You saw the big fist pump after the block up on the net. Jarman was a key contributor down the stretch in that first set for UVA.
What I always say, Jason, is that kills are awesome, but you don't get as much energy off a kill as you do off a block. You get 3 blocks for the Cavaliers in that first set. That one by Jarman, again, a big momentum shifter. That belief that you can shut down on the front row is huge for the Cavaliers because, again, this is a team that believes their strength is in the blocking game. They're 5th right now in the ACC in blocks, but they want to work their way up in that ranking.
Now, you remember what she was able to do against Elon back on the 21st, and we talked so much about young players in this one tonight. How about players like Jarman who are working their way into the rotation outside that starting group? They could be the most critical components to which of these teams come out on top.
And you can't ever just single out one athlete or 2 athletes. There's only 6 that play at a given time on each side, so it's that full collective team effort. It's the athletes who can come off the bench, come into rotation, and contribute. That's what makes you a successful team.
It's the 3rd year that provides the success, and here's another of those key contributors, Leland, to start things for UVA, though the point is going to go the Hokies' direction, and we're going to see Logan Mosley try to live on the serve line for a little while. We mentioned how good she is in this department, and the Virginia Tech libero looking to provide a spark for her team. And that got the contact that Virginia was hoping for. Some more delivery from Jada Francis on the far side. As a result, Cyprian will have it in service with the first 2 points split evenly between these rivals. Set up back here for Novakovic. A little too strong. Point Hokies.
Good, powerful swing, though, by Novakovic. Trying to get into her rhythm this second set.
Thomas with a 5 for her teammate. Virginia Tech brings McKenzie in there to serve. McKenzie put together a run of serves in the middle stages of that first set. Won't happen here. And the reason it won't happen, a little sneaky touch up on the net to find the inside of that far line.
Madison Matthews doing a good job here. Again, that short, quick set to the dead center of the net. Matthews is always there. She capitalizes every time. I love her connection with that set.
She's near the 3-meter line when she lays that down. Now Virginia setting up Francis. And a little bit too much on it. This delivery from Billiard. So Virginia Tech trying to do what they did in the first with a little bit different result. For fans maybe who weren't with us, you only saw the closing stages of that first match. It was the Hokies that really seemed to have control all the way up past the 20-point threshold when Virginia took over and did not look back.
Had control, but it also went back and forth.
It did.
You didn't really feel like either team completely had it until those 2 service aces came from Novakovic for the Cavaliers. That's when the momentum really shifted.
Well, and even after that, the 2 teams traded points all the way past the threshold of 25. And it took extra time to get it going. The call benefiting Virginia. The carry is now in the hands of Jana Francis once again. Francis, who we highlighted in the open of this broadcast because of all the extra things she has been required to do. Francis having to step up. You know, you're always going to get those injuries, but Grace Turner, the outside hitter, running into some problems. A player that they knew was going to have to be a key part of it in Francis, having to be a key part of it right now. And she has been for UVA.
She also was in that last match against Pitt. Career high 5 blocks, also added 10 kills for a team high.
The bright spot in what was a straight sets victory for Pittsburgh, something they're going to do, no doubt, in a lot of gymnasiums around the Atlantic Coast Conference.
What it also shows you is that character for Francis. Talking to head coach Aaron Smith, he said, you know, it doesn't matter who she's going up against. She's going to prepare the same way. She doesn't let it get in her head, whether it's a top team in the nation or not.
After the attack error giving Virginia a point, Cavaliers will string together back-to-back. Both these teams hitting at a clip of over 200. Now 204 for Virginia, 244 for Virginia Tech. Remember, there was a big split in that early on. That's what those service aces made up for. And this is well placed. I mean, could not have walked it out there and placed it any better if you're Talon Jackson. Now getting a breather. Coming out of the rotation is McKenzie, and Talon Jackson, who did the good work, goes back to the serve line. Nevada native on this Virginia Tech roster.
An interesting story about Jackson is that her work ethic was something that her teammates picked up on. She's just a sophomore, but actually voted captain by her team at the end of her freshman year. This is an athlete who also stayed longer than everyone else in summer to get some extra reps in with her athletic trainer. So you see that work ethic pay off in her skill set here.
Well, when you have 127 assists, 31 digs, 16 blocks, and 38 sets in your freshman campaign, they'll make you a leader for those efforts, and those were her numbers from a year ago. It's just the deflection that the Hokies were looking for, as Kai Young will secure it for Virginia Tech. See Young right up there in the middle of things for the Hokies.
Also interesting, both teams are finding a lot of success in the middle of their net. They're not so much setting up the pins.
This is over at that area you speak of.
Just not getting a lot of success, though, from the pins today. All of it's coming from the center.
So much work right down the middle of both of these defenses. These teams finding holes there into the rotation after one of the few times it has paid off from Jarman. Into the rotation comes Megan Wilson. Well, you love that moment. Everything just quiets down right before it's put back in action. These fans look up at the scoreboard and they see 12 points split evenly. Now a 7-6 advantage for Virginia after the Hoos claim this point in order to keep Megan Wilson on the serve line. But they're hanging on every single delivery, every single swing inside the gym tonight. There was a strong one, but dug out by Wilson. Gets off the serve line and gets in a response position very nicely.
Wilson cleaning everything up.
And that will end up out of the reach of that Hokies back line. And Wilson now beginning to make it a habit to head back to that serve line. And Virginia out front 8-6.
Wilson's an athlete that the team really trusts. She's effective. She's consistent. Those are the two adjectives that head coach Aaron Smith uses to describe her.
She's the team's leading player in assists in 2018, 706 of them. Had that 14-dig game against Louisville that fans will remember from a year ago, and 3 double-doubles last year, really showing her versatility. That ends up hitting the antenna, so it's going to be a service error for a Virginia Tech team that has lived on service aces, a couple of those, alongside all the discussion we've had about the aces that they rode to victory in the first set. And then there's near side, and that's off the Virginia block. And Tech comes away with the point as they get the contact they were looking for.
7 kills now for Katie Smith. Here she is again, embracing that pressure from the block and driving right into it.
There's Thomas putting it in action. There's Novakovic. Boy, she swings hard, but Thomas was there waiting. Good block and maybe an even better response there. And how in the world did Mosley stay up to keep that alive? Won't matter in the end. Virginia secures the point.
Good effort, though, throughout that rally from the Hokies and from the Cavaliers, but to finish it off, it's Cyprian.
Boy, how many times have we seen Cyprian rise high above? The elevation she gets above the net. 6 kills for Cyprian and a 10-8 lead for Virginia. And that will get your attention for just a moment because Virginia Tech's Katie Smith getting up a little slow after landing awkwardly right there near our up official. But it looks like she's going to continue, which is a good sign. And they're wiping the floor there in that area where she came down, and she's still trying to walk it off just a little bit.
That can shake you up, but it's something you have to have, that short-term memory, kind of forget that you just fell down. It broke up the rhythm a bit, but get back into the game, keep that strong mentality. There's just a little bit of a miscommunication in the set coming from Talon Jackson.
Kristen Leland back on the serve line. Think about the expanded time that she had during that Jefferson Cup weekend and really embraced it. Came into her own. But Virginia Tech with the response from the far side, and here is Serco again making the difference.
Serco driving cross court. She was set outside, again, shallow of the block, so she had the angle.
Smith leading the way in kills with 7. Serco right behind her with 4 when you look at the individual performance for Tech so far. A couple of solid performers up on the net for Tech there to keep that going. Like it might be a sure point for UVA. This is going to be a long run. It will go to Virginia Tech. Just continued to battle and hang with it on a tough early sequence, but the longer the rally went, the more it paid off for the Hokies.
You can see how this one ended up. Again, both teams lying down at the court throughout that rally, trying to keep the ball up and in play.
Yeah, Jackson was all the way down on the deck at one point. This will get no response as the Hoos give the Who Crew something to celebrate here out front 12-10. And this kind of has the reverse feel of that first set, Allison, where Virginia, allowing Virginia Tech to pull even, but the Cavaliers are staying about a point or two out front for the most part in the early stages of this second set. Great job getting down there by Cyprian, but it would be to no avail. Both these teams hitting in the 240s now as they see some of those statistics come a little more even. Kills at 25-22 Virginia Tech and a +1 blocks advantage for UVA. And the remarkable stat, yes, we keep saying it because it's been the story of the match so far, but 5 aces to none of those for Virginia Tech. That's really the difference for Virginia so far. Boy, all kind of power behind that, but Francis came down the line on the net on it instead of being able to get it across and into the block, and Virginia Tech will have the point, even again at 12.
Just not enough of an angle again, trying to keep it shallow, trying to get that sharp angle inside.
And who was there once again but Talon Jackson, a name we've called regularly tonight. Point to Virginia Tech. Hokies now pushing themselves out front. Virginia taking the first set. Took a little extra time for the Cavaliers to get the job done. 28-26 was the final. 13-12 the lead for Virginia Tech here. And make it 14 as Virginia Tech now begins to put their first run of this second set together, it would seem.
Matthews with a little too much behind that attempt.
McKenzie too strong, and the service error will pull the Hoos back within 1. And here, every time she gets back there, everybody seems to stop whatever they're doing. Is Novakovic back on the serve line once again.
And it seems like she's always there right when the Cavaliers need her.
Lands it on the back line. Another service ace for Novakovic, her third and the 6th for Virginia.
So impressive in this one, all the way to the end line, able to clip it just inside.
And remember, all you have to do is nick that back line. That's exactly what Novakovic did. And this is hit into the net, so Novakovic with back-to-back points for UVA. And the Cavaliers having pulled back out front, 15-14 with a 1-0 sets advantage. Service aces in the first two sets for Virginia, 4 of them belonging to Novakovic. Here's her 2 most recent.
And she changes them up every time in the placement of those serves. That one driving to the back row, but she's gotten them inside that 10-foot line as well. So she changes it up. She has a lot of top spin on the back of it, which a lot of the times now you're seeing that float serve, but Novakovic has a really good spin on the ball.
Oh, the other thing you have to note is the timing for Novakovic. Virginia Tech was in the lead. She pulls Virginia even and places them out front with those service aces. And now a little bit too much activity on the Virginia side. The point to the Hokies, as 30 points have been awarded in the second set. Nothing settled between these two. This has memories of the first set beginning to come to the forefront of your mind as they traded points back and forth all the way beyond the threshold of 25. It's 15-all in set number 2. At this rate, Allison, you wonder, after the solid block for Virginia Tech securing the Hokies the lead, you wonder how much these teams are going to have left if this thing goes to a 4th or 5th set.
A lot of energy being spilled out here onto the court.
Good recovery. Even better delivery as Madison Matthews secures her 6th kill of the match to even things.
Here's Matthews again through the double block.
Matthews got off to a fast start in this one. Native of Charleston, South Carolina, the latest to make an impact. And there she is again. Up on that front line alongside Sarah Billiard. And the block for Virginia, putting the Hoos out front 17-16.
Look back at that block. Again, getting a good hand inside, angling their hands into the court.
No, we keep calling Matthews' name there in the last several moments. Remember, hitting .412 in the past 8 matches and averaging a couple of kills per set. She's on pace for that in terms of kill per set with the job she's done in the first 2 here. Virginia Tech takes a point right back, and Zier on the serve line puts it in action. And that's going to be off of Zier. And Virginia makes sure both teams have 17 on the board now. Or 18-17 Hoos as they find their way back out front. Miller. Boy, just not enough time to get there. And Miller putting that in such a location, Allison, that it made it very difficult for Virginia Tech to provide any response.
The ball wasn't even coming in that fast, but again, it's that positioning. It's where she sent the ball that threw the defense of the Hokies off. They couldn't get to in time. They were kind of scrambling, to pick up the crumbs. But that's the second now service ace for Miller.
Well, a couple of special emphasis tonight in this one. Obviously, the Commonwealth Clash presented by Virginia 529, that series that puts these two rivals head-to-head. They're able to secure points based on competition across 22 sports. And the school accumulating, obviously, the 11.5 points or more at the end of the year, awarded the Commonwealth Clash Trophy. And certainly Virginia, 3 wins in that department, a couple of them for Virginia Tech. You see how even that is split in just the 5 years that it has existed, but already a slight advantage for the Hoos as they won the soccer match last night and looking good so far on the volleyball side here this evening.
Yeah, Virginia right now scattering the rankings through multiple sports. You talk about that women's soccer program. They're 9-0-1, ranked number 1 in the nation right now. So you feel that energy in an athletic department when you have some of the top teams in the nation, and you want to also live up to that. You want to live up to that Cavalier name, that programs like the women's soccer team, and last year the men's lacrosse program and the men's basketball program set for UVA.
Well, and so many ACC teams living up to that kind of hype right now. You think about Clemson's football program as advertised, still number 1 in the country. North Carolina, when you talk about as advertised, they've been just as strong in field hockey as they were a year ago when they too won the national championship. And if you want the real-time number, it's now 8-0 for UNC.
Just keeps getting better.
Take down Virginia in field hockey, a strong team in their own right, a little bit earlier today. But the soccer team for UVA there, I mean, it is high times in the ACC. And then you think about the arrival of the ACC network as well, as Virginia secures the point, or Virginia Tech, secures the point out of the timeout here to pull within 1 of Virginia. What a time for the ACC network to arrive. Over 1,300 contests when you factor in those that will be on the linear side as well as on ACC Network Extra across all the sponsored sports in the conference, and at a time where the conference is having that kind of success that you just looked at on those storylines. You can follow each and every one of these sports. It certainly is high times in the Atlantic Coast Conference.
That timing couldn't get any better as we take another timeout.
Certainly our privilege to have you with us for this Commonwealth Clash here on this ACC Network Extra broadcast tonight. 19 all. I'll ask you what you've seen out of these teams in this second set that maybe in some ways differs from what we witnessed in the first.
Less attacking errors on both sides. We've seen their efficiency improve so far. Virginia right now hitting at an even 200, where Tech is at 237. So you always want to be above that 200 mark. Ideally, a really good hitting percentage for people unfamiliar with the sport is in that 300 range, but anywhere in the mid 200s is excellent. Virginia has worked their way in about the 150s up to the 200s in both the first set and now here in the second set. So they're improving as the sets go on, making less attacking errors, which again is a huge key to this match.
Looking more like the Virginia team that showed up here in taking the Jefferson Cup in impressive fashion, when they went straight sets against Lehigh, straight sets against UNCG, and defeated an Elon team. You talked about that lone loss that Wake Forest has. They defeated that Elon team who made that noise in a 3-2 final, as that one went 5 sets. But last weekend, somewhat maybe overshadowed in the minds of Hoos fans right now by what happened against Pittsburgh last time out. But it was an outstanding weekend for Virginia right here on this floor.
That gives you that belief. It teaches you how to close out a match. So getting those 3 straight victories, big momentum shift for the Cavaliers. Again, it teaches you how to close out that game. It gives you the experience in winning a match and carrying it all the way to that last final kill, that last point that gets you that W column. But, you know, again, we talk about that Pittsburgh game so much, and it's really hard to stack up against one of the top teams in the nation when you're still early on in your season. You're just starting out conference play. There's still a lot of adjustments and a lot of improvements that will be made all the way through December.
And a Virginia team that 5 out of 6 wins heading into that Pittsburgh contest after the work they did at the Bobcat Invitational before that Jefferson Cup victory. Well, one more time we have these teams even, and that split by a Virginia Tech point right up on the net. You see it at 2019 now, Hokies. Set back, and off that front block of Virginia, the point secured by Serco and company.
Back-to-back kills for Serco. Serco now at 7 in this match, and at one point she had a 7-match stretch with double-digit kills.
And now even with Smith in that department as the leaders for Virginia Tech in the match. 7 apiece. And Billiard responds for Virginia.
In impeccable fashion as well. Again, right by the pin, choosing her angle, squaring up her shoulders inside, pushing it to open court in that back row.
Sorry about that, Allison. Talked about that UNCG game a little bit ago when we were talking Jefferson Cup. Error-free in that hit percentage at right out 6 in that contest. An impressive effort for Billiard, and she's back at it again here as we get one more look.
Serco dominating the right side.
Look, one more look at Serco, going to say, because she has been the player in this last sequence for Virginia Tech, trying to take the match over for the Hokies. Hands the crew out of Blacksburg up 22-20. On the back line for Virginia. Work by the libero, and that's going to be too far out of the reach for a potential pancake, and as a result, point Virginia.
keeping the hope alive here for the Cavaliers. Good execution. Another quick far set outside, and Cyprian handling it.
So now Virginia handing it back to Leland. The Lone Star Steak product, the Dallas native. We talked about all her good work in the Jefferson Cup. It's carried over here. And that's just got too much on it for any of the Cavaliers to do anything with it. And Virginia Tech on the threshold now as they find themselves out front 23-21. And here's how it looked.
Miller getting a touch on it, but again, too much power driving laterally to keep up.
Well, Hokies were up 2 with Mosley on the serve line, and when Virginia needed a response, they receive it. And here goes Cyprian back to the serve line after this left-handed effort.
There is no stopping Novakovic.
He is something else, and here is Cyprian now. To put it in action, Virginia down 1. The thing you love about Novakovic, you get that unique look at the southpaw, whether it's on a light touch like the one we just witnessed or a strong one like the one prior. And there she is with the block. Novakovic everywhere. Little help in the middle. Arrives from Matthews. That's set up on the far side for Francis. What a rally brewing here. And there's all the force that had been effective from Serco. And not enough licks with which to work for Virginia. So the great rally of the night, perhaps, won by the Hokies of Virginia Tech. And it puts the Hokies at set point as they try to even it at 1 set apiece.
The best rally we have seen yet.
Boy, there were so many small elements that for both coaches Smith and Wilson, they could break down on that last sequence, Ellison, where both teams were giving their very best.
That's where you have to rely on court awareness and communication, because it's going back and forth. The rally stays alive for so many touches, so you have to play that crisp, clean passing game. So that's that first, second touch on the ball to be able to set yourself up for an attacking opportunity. So the passing, the most essential thing in a long rally like this. You see good passing.
One of the milder of the moments right there. It gets a little intense here.
It was full of blocks, full of good first, second touches, full of some powerful swings, some good placement as well, but the court was covered really well.
Well, and I'll have to ask you, what does it do to a team, especially when you're sitting in a match that at the time was 23-22, when they surrender a point like that? How much of a lift is that for Tech, and how difficult is that to bounce back from out of this timeout for UVA?
It deflates you for the Cavaliers. That's why you saw them scrambling to the ball, full force, 110 effort, trying to come all the way outside the court line into that free space and get underneath it to keep it in play, because they knew they needed to win that rally. Now, the set isn't done yet, right? There's still one more point to be had by Virginia Tech to close it out. So there's still hope alive for Virginia, but of course, a little deflating with that last rally not going in their favor.
Who's winning the first set 28-26? Will we see these teams require more than the usual 25 the second time around? Time to find out. 24-22 is the Virginia Tech lead. Trying to make sure the first 2 sets are split evenly.
Abby McKenzie on the serve, and McKenzie tabbed the mom of the team. Very organized.
Got that upper class leadership as well. The senior puts a right hand into it. Virginia with Matthews. And you talked about how much has happened right there in the middle. Here's another snapshot of it.
The middles have been completely exploited. Again, Matthews reaching over the block before it's able to set up for the Hokies. So that awareness, the opening that Matthews was able to find, helped her out.
7th kill for Matthews. She's right there with Cyprian at the top of the team for UVA. But Virginia Tech able to secure what will in essence be a best of 3 as the good work on the net seals this second set for the Hokies. Well, if the first 2 sets are any indication, you don't want to go anywhere tonight. Virginia Tech, Virginia, dead even after 2.
was that back there?
An Imperial Inquisitor. She's a Force user hunting Jedi survivors.
We have to stop them.
Going somewhere.
Feel the Force on Xbox One.
Well, the Commonwealth clash with nothing settled after 2 sets. Virginia with a dramatic victory past the threshold of 25 in the first set. And then Virginia Tech battling back to even things. Welcome me back inside Mim Gym. And Allison, this is going to be a fun one to take a look back at when you think about these first 2 sets. We had a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I went back and forth, and neither program has let us down in this rivalry matchup. They're both hitting in about the mid-200s right now, but the biggest difference maker that saw the Cavaliers come out on top in that first set was the serve game, right? So it was Novakovic who came up with back-to-back service aces, and that's really what pushed them over the edge. Again, we mentioned that back and forth, and that's how this whole entire match got started in the first set. It was a little bit of this from Virginia and a lot of that from the Hokies. The Hokies looking like they might have had it in the bag, but these are the service aces from Jelena Novakovic back to back, and this gave the momentum, the belief to the Cavalier program.
Oh, to remember, that was after we had reached the 20-point threshold. Right in the closing stages, Virginia snatched away that first set, and Virginia Tech kind of flipped the script in the second.
Exactly. So again, we're back and forth here in the second set, and it seemed like the Hokies began to climb their way back. The Cavaliers really did start on top. They had that momentum, but after a really long rally, it was the set point that came to the Hokies, and from there they capitalized, and that was their finishing off the second set to make it now a 1-1 match.
Yeah, so much positive from Novakovic and some other places for UVA as well, but Virginia Tech ending up doing enough to give us what in essence is a best of 3 now. What can we expect in this best of 3 in the Commonwealth Clash?
I think still expect a lot of really good volleyball on both sides. You've seen their hitting percentage increase since the start of the match, so they're limiting those unforced errors. They're limiting those attacking errors. They're doing better at the service line. You want to see, the serve-receive game kind of pick up a bit for the Hokies, because there have been 8 service aces through the first 2 sets for the Cavaliers. So that serve-receive game definitely needs to improve, but I think both teams are doing a good job answering each other on both sides of the net. You see the blocks come up big. You see the kills come up when they need to. So the teams have answers for each other. I think a lot of really good volleyball to be had here in the third set.
Well, as we take a look back at what we saw from a numbers standpoint, what jumps out at you beyond obviously the service aces that we've talked so much about already?
Well, one of the things that definitely stands out, again, are those blocks. The Hokies right now coming off a match against Charlotte with no blocks through the entire length of those 3 sets. So this is something that they were looking to improve. They've got a handful of blocks up through the first 2, so they've improved in that blocking game. Cavaliers as well with 4 total blocks. So those blocks give you, again, that stoppage, that belief, that momentum right there in the front row. And then when you can carry it off with good serving game, that's a game changer. And you see the Cavaliers coming out here right now, ready to get this match underway.
How nice it would have been to eavesdrop just a little bit in the 2 locker rooms.
I wish we could have.
What adjustments do you think we're going to see from these 2 teams,
That
Alice?
serve-receive, I can't stress it enough for the Hokies. That's what gave, again, the Cavaliers so much confidence to finish off that first set. 8 service aces compared to only 1 for Tech in that first 2 sets.
Well, the last time out, these 2 teams played to a 5-set thriller. We told you that the history between them couldn't be more evenly divided, just a +1 advantage in over 70 matches. Virginia Tech holding that slight lead. Cavaliers trying to change all that, pull even in the all-time series here tonight. Take a little stronger lead in the Commonwealth Clash. All that, and by the way, an ACC win also on the line between these 2. That rides the tape for an instant as we get started. And momentum, control of this third set is up for grabs. Pretty good rally to start it. Mindful of that late rally we had in set number 2. And this one will go to Virginia Tech. So the Hokies come out of the gate with a point, and they're able to get back to the serve line. Kylie Thomas, who's been good back there for Virginia Tech. Little touch. Novakovic with a change of pace. She hits so strong and so effective that when she decides to just dump it in on you, it's hard to be prepared.
That will freeze up a defense because she's really strong on her attack. So again, that off-speed touch can freeze you up.
There's a strong delivery from the Hokies on the near side. That was Serco again. What can you say about the job Serco has done in this match already? We continue to call her name, leading in kills, and she's in double digits in that department.
It's that power again. Serco is where she needs to be, connecting with her setter and getting on top of the ball every time she approaches it with so much confidence.
Kept alive, but there's too much open space on the back line for Novakovic and company. Virginia securing the point.
Novakovic from outside that right pin. She attacks the first time, it's sent back, so she cleans it up.
Knew there was a great deal of margin for error there. Just able to get enough force on it to push it across. Not quite able to save it out of there was Cyprian, though she put a valiant effort together. And she'll take a breather.
Cyprian trying to get that pancake dig, getting underneath. Just missed it, maybe by a centimeter.
Serco out for the moment as well for Virginia Tech as the Hokies send McKenzie back to serve once again. 3-2 Hokies. And this, what is often termed the swing set. It will not swing one way or the other just yet. Virginia evening it at 3, and it's the work up on the net for UVA. There's the net look at it.
See the block pressed into the net. Their armpit to armpit. Their position is on point.
And what does it earn? Novakovic is spot back on that serve line for that southpaw jump serve. To the middle. What an effort by Miller. And the finish is there, Jana Francis. But it was Miller who created the opportunity.
Francis exploiting the center of the court. You see the dig to keep it alive, and then Francis to finish right in the middle.
Miller, who produced 15 or more digs in the 3 matches of the Jefferson Cup. Over 1,200, near 1,300 coming in, and that was number 1,300 for Miller.
What an impressive career she's had so far.
What a moment to end up with it. Remember, she came in closing in on 10th all-time in Virginia history in that department. So she's notched her name into the top 10. She's in the 1,300 club, and she has Virginia neck and neck with the Hokies as a result of her work in this third set. What work has been done for some time here by the likes of the Crestwood, Kentucky native, Kelsey Miller.
She just has great anticipation on where the ball is going to land and how to position herself underneath it.
Well, and with some of the pieces as Virginia almost on cue here, gets what they needed from Billiard, the sophomore. With some of the surrounding cast members really coming to life like Billiard, it's allowed Miller and company settle into those roles because of the weapons that are there for Aaron Smith and company now. That catches the tape and comes right back on Virginia Tech for a who's point here. Just the work that has been done in the, we talk about the blocking game, you've highlighted it a number of times, the pressure that has been put on because of that blocking tandem like you just witnessed on cue there, making a difference for UVA. Boy, that took some more force just to get it across.
Good recovery, though, by the Hokies.
And again it happens. Jackson has it set on the far side for Powell. Last chance to work it across, and it will be too many. Virginia gets the point. Hokies trying to battle there, but just could not quite get the angle on it. And Virginia's starting to pull away a little bit here. 7-4 is the lead, and with the way these two teams have played, a 3-point advantage seems like a major amount of breathing room right now.
One of the biggest runs of the game that we've seen so far.
Somehow staying alive, and then the joust up on the net continues it.
Quick reflexes.
Well, you have to credit Jarman, who went down to the floor to get it, and now she rises above the net to finish it. Jarman with another key moment in this match.
The Cavaliers now up by 4, and you can feel it inside Memorial Gym here. You see that joust, but it was the effort from the Cavaliers to keep it alive, to get on top of it, and then Jarman gets that final finishing touch.
And again, I'll say it, it was Jarman that was on the floor digging that out at the start of the sequence. You just saw the replay.
And it's that transition, able to go from defense to offense really quick.
There's Jarman working together up on that front line with Matthews. They would have none of it. But the Hokies aren't giving an inch either. Right into the block. And point Virginia as a result of that good work on the right side. Here's another glance at it.
It's another block for the Cavaliers.
Textbook from Billiard and Company. Virginia with a sizable advantage in the third set. It's 9-4 Cavaliers. Virginia averages close to 2.5 blocks per set coming in. It has been the strength of their game here in sets 2 and 3 as well, Allison.
Huge blocking game right now for the Cavaliers. Again, that's their bread and butter. That's their strength. They had 4 blocks throughout the first 2 sets, 2 to open up this third.
When you saw the advantage they hold, that a sizable advantage, much like the other category that we talked so much about tonight, the 8-1 advantage in aces. Add it all up, it's a 9-5 lead for Virginia right now. What do you think the thought process is for the Hokies coming out of that last time out?
Remain calm, settle down, and focus on the controllables. So what you can do on your side of the court. Don't focus on, the game that the Cavaliers are throwing to you, but instead controlling in that first touch, that passing game, to set something up on offense.
In the first ACC contest of the season for Virginia Tech, team trying to start 1-0 in ACC play for the third time in the last 7 years, but finding themselves in a bit of a further hole here in this third set. Get another good look at the latest of the good work from UVA.
Huge slam down again from Madison Matthews, dead center of the net.
Matthews with 9 kills. Her next puts her in double digits in that category. And this is hit over into the scoring area. So Virginia stringing the points together and now up +6 at 11-5. Matthews with 9, Cyprian with 7. The combo of Billiard and Novakovic with 6 apiece. That's the leaders when it comes to kills for UVA. And another point for the Hoos as everything beginning to trend Virginia's way all of a sudden. Substitutions for Virginia Tech. Rachel Tam coming in, the freshman out of New Jersey. Just the latest of the youngsters to see time on both sides in this match. And that's really a part of the conversation we had earlier that's worth revisiting as Virginia puts together the strongest of its runs of the night. So many of these players young. Here's another look at how the 4-0 run was capped here.
That was the attacked attempt by Sierra Powell, one of those impact freshmen. Just a little wide outside the line on that last attempt.
The scoring run, Virginia to a 13-5 advantage. And there's a block for Tech on the front side as the Hokies end up getting Talamazzi in the right place, right time in order to drive that home. 13-6. Back set. And on the back line, worked across by Talamazzi again.
Covered well by Miller, though.
Boy, just a nice touch by Jarman, but Virginia Tech anticipated it. All kind of time as that has a high point of arc. And that's somehow saved across by Mosley. One of her better swings of this contest. And then it's finished in the end by Talamazzi, who is becoming a force all of a sudden as the native of Italy.
Coach Wilson smart to put Talamazzi in. A fresh hand coming from that left pin, drawing really an acute angle across court.
Talamazzi, the senior. Couple of key attacks there, and coming away with her first kill. Looking like a football score up there right now at 13-7, the Virginia lead. Cavaliers. At 14-7 now, we've got a player injured, and this is not good. On that back line, it is the Virginia Tech libero. Talk about such good work that has been done by Mosley, our highlight player coming in already in this her first year on campus, being seen by many as among the best in the entire conference. And this is certainly a moment for concern.
Try to see what happened here with Mosley, and it was maybe something with the lower body, an ankle potential.
Trying to avoid,
just running into Tam.
Yep, trying to avoid Tam there too, Allison. You're exactly right. She's going to be helped off, and this is a big loss for Virginia Tech, and certainly you hope she's able to come back very soon, as we'll keep an eye on the North Carolina Player of the Year in the high school ranks a year ago, and the leader, defensive standpoint at least for sure, for the Hokies.
An athlete you never want to lose.
Certainly hate to see anybody banged up, but this a key loss for Virginia Tech for however long she has to stay on that sideline. And again, you just hope it's nothing serious and that Mosley can return quickly.
And for all athletes out there on the court right now, it brings you back to reality that injuries can happen. You know, you want to shake it off, and you know the Cavaliers are rooting for her to also come out okay from that takedown.
Well, and the Hokies already without a couple of key pieces to the puzzle. I mean, you talk about the Charleston, West Virginia native, the outside hitter. Tessa Weiner, she was a walk-on, turned into a star for Virginia Tech, was banged up a little bit in practice this past week, unable to go, and she was really their bright spot last weekend at Castle Coliseum when they finally returned home to play some matches in front of the Hokies faithful. So they're already without her. You talk about Rafferty being out, one of the defensive specialists, and now if Mosley sees any lingering effects of this whatsoever, a further blow to a Virginia Tech team that needs all these young players in the mix in order to help turn the page, much like what we see with UVA.
And the big thing is that these are impact players. You mentioned Rafferty. She's an athlete who head coach Jill Wilson said is our calm leader on our team. She's consistent. She's been a contributor since her freshman year. She's a senior on the roster. For Weiner, she's someone that was their secret weapon. She said, not a lot of people recruited her. She had contacted me when I got named the head coach of Virginia Tech. She said, "Coach, please watch me. I know I committed to the previous coaching staff, but I've only ever wanted to play at Virginia Tech." So not having that passion from Weiner and the leadership from Rafferty is really hard for this Hokies program.
It was Weiner who sparked the win against Chattanooga, that 5-set thriller over the weekend. You talk about young players. I don't know if you can illustrate it any better than this graphic does, just how much they relied upon those first-year athletes there in Blacksburg.
3 different freshmen in key starting positions for the Hokies. And there's only 6 athletes that get that starting position, so, well, including the libero, so 7. But you, again, see the impact that the freshman class of 4 have for this Virginia Tech program.
It's coming into the match tonight, and think about how much time has been spent out there on the court by those young players, and this has to be a major moment of concern for Jill Wilson and her staff, as they must proceed, at least for the moment, without the talented young leader, Logan Mosley.
Also really hard to shake off when one of your teammates is injured. You're so concerned and worried for them.
Well, and everybody on that bench, those not involved in the action that is about to resume, still gathered up around Mosley as they do wrap that left ankle that they're working with on the Apex, North Carolina native.
Always better to be safe than sorry.
Well, and for Talamazzi and company, right there on your screen now, Talon Jackson, some of those names we've called already, they're going to be asked to step up in an even greater way. With Virginia leading at 14-7 here in the third set. The swing set beginning to trend UVA's direction already before the injury to Mosley, and now the Hokies going to have to respond beyond that adversity as well.
A long stoppage of play. So both teams having to regroup here, find that rhythm again.
Wilson handles service. The return for Virginia Tech too strong. And UVA with a point at 15-7. And they may be going to take a look at this. Virginia Tech wanting to see if, in fact, there was some contact on the other side of the net.
And Coach Jill Wilson trusting her front line, who said, Coach, we saw a touch. So using one of those challenges here in the third set to see if there was, in fact, a touch on the Virginia side.
Every point critical for the Hokies right now. It currently stands at 15-7 Virginia, but would take that point off the board and give it to Tech should they win the challenge right here. And walk us through this process again for fans who may be just getting into things, with this being the first ACC match of the year, at least for Virginia Tech, and only the second of the year for the Hoos.
Yeah, this is an important matchup, and we're going to take a look back at that play that is being challenged. So they're challenging a touch on the UVA side, so you're looking for the hands on the block.
Obviously, if you get any contact at all from someone for Virginia, it becomes the Virginia Tech point. It would flip.
So the ruling was in favor of the Cavaliers, saying there was no touch, and it looks like it has been reversed. So they are calling a touch on the block from UVA. Point goes to the Hokies.
And that's the second time that we've seen that reversal. And you know what? To some degree, not only does Virginia Tech earn the point there, but they also get a little bit of a breather, an opportunity to catch their breath after seeing Logan Mosley go down just a moment ago. You kind of look down there, both teams using that as a timeout to kind of reset some things. And this is a Virginia Tech squad needing to take a deep breath, and they do not only earn the point, but earn a little bit of an extra moment there to gather their thoughts, Allison.
You want to reset your mindset, go back into gameplay, game action. So coaches trying to get everyone back on the same game plan again after taking such a long break when Mosley went down.
Virginia out front at 15-8. This by far the largest advantage that either team has enjoyed. The advantage that has been opened up by UVA here in the third set. Good communication and passing from the Hoos, and then just the right amount of touch for Jana Francis, and she goes down a little awkwardly. Francis is holding the back of her right leg, and now the two premier players that we highlighted for these teams coming in because of their emergence of late have departed the match almost back-to-back. And this is as difficult for Virginia to swallow as it was on the other side with Mosley. Let's see how she landed. That tells the story.
Might have just turned in that right knee when she came down from the attack. But before that, that was a beautiful set across the net from Megan Wilson, going from their right side all the way left to set up Francis.
It can change in the blink of an eye. It has for both of these teams. A young first year out of Virginia Beach, now having found her way back behind the bench area. And they've taken Jana Francis kind of out of view for the training staff to work with her. Keep an eye on. And there's good look by guys in the control room and our cameraman to get a angle for you on where she's located over behind that UVA bench. So, boy, you thought so long in this match as Virginia able to come away with another. You
Logan Mosley is back in.
And Logan Mosley back in there.
For the Hokies. Trying to get that dig just out of reach, though. But good to see her back in the game.
Yeah, Alex Spencer with the kill there. Don't want that certainly to get lost in the fact that we're watching players come in and out. And you said it, one of the great stories of the night, that Mosley's back. This is going to be just out of her reach. And the Hoos with that group on the front line of Spencer, who had the last kill, Cyprian, whose name we've called over and over again tonight, and Novakovic, who's just continues to impress every time she has a touch on the ball. That group up front doing nice work for UVA. This too strong at the point to Virginia Tech. But I'm going to say, you thought, okay, service aces, blocks, so many of those things, and from a statistical standpoint, they are the story. But the story right now for these two teams on your screen, how well can Mosley perform after departing and having the ankle wrapped? When will we see Jana Francis back if we do? Those are the emerging stories here as Virginia continues, despite all that, to pull away on a beautiful set and an impressive finish for who else? Alex Spencer once again. She's been good in this third set. And that's a little too strong. So it goes from these impressive kills to a couple of service errors that have swapped points back and forth between these two. But Virginia is the team right now, Allison, in a position to trade points at 19-10. Virginia Tech needs to put a run together.
For UVA, they do have a little bit of breathing space right here. They were lucky enough to get enough points on the board before all the injuries started happening and the stoppage of play started becoming a factor in getting your mindset back into gameplay.
Boy, that was an impressive swing. And take a look at where this one lands. You want to talk about a game of inches? Talk about a game of centimeters, maybe. The work done on the middle again, and it's the latest of the kills for Madison Matthews, who was in double digits in that category tonight. Matthews, 10 kills on 17 total attacks. Numbers keep on climbing.
Give her another.
21-10 Virginia on the 11th kill of the night from Matthews.
Matthews again set to the center. It's that short set that she is exploiting.
There's that left-handed, that trademark jump serve for Novakovic. She'll have no return here, though, as Zier is able to provide the kill for the Hokies. Annabelle Zier, she's a hometown product out of Blacksburg, Virginia. What a thrill it must be to play right there in front of the home faithful. Doing some good work on the road here in Charlottesville tonight, as the Hokies within 10, but Virginia already across 20 at 21-11. On the middle to that back line. Boy, there is vintage Sarah Billiard. When Billiard can get square as she did on this latest swing, tough to return anything.
Here's Billiard, far left side, gets the high set, and the approach is where she needs to be. She speeds it up to make that decent contact on the ball to get everything she could behind it.
That lands on the line. So the point for Virginia Tech, just a little touch point for the Hokies here. Talked about how both these teams at moments have changed the pace when needed. But these Hokies right now hitting at a clip of 202 after leading in that category most of the night early to Virginia's 274, have really got to string together some points. That may help as it goes to 22-13. Virginia can see the finish line here, Allison.
Exactly. For the Cavaliers, it just comes down to closing out this set. You've built such an impressive lead, but you want to hang on to that. You don't want to be complacent in your points, as you can see they are not right now. So
Billiard not complacent, whether she's on the near side, whether she's on the far side. Billiard able to rise above and make it 23-13 Hoos.
So strong off that vertical. She gets her arm up. She gets on top of the ball. Really good contact.
Matthews, North Carolina native. But good work for UVA.
Miller, though, with a huge up.
And that is well placed. Not quite the force for Billiard as we saw on her two previous kills, but she was going for location here and finds it. Watch how this lands just inside the back line.
You can see she read the block, so she picked her attack to that opening.
And here is set point for Virginia. And the Cavaliers content to watch that land in the free zone to nail down set number 3. Virginia winning the first set 28-26. They win the third set by 10 and have control here at Charlottesville. Well, after two tight sets in the Commonwealth Clash, Virginia used the blocking game and continued effectiveness from a host of different locales in order to pull away in the third set down the stretch.
Clean hitting as well for the Cavaliers, hitting at nearly 450 in that third set. Only 2 attacking errors compared to 7 from the Hokies of Virginia Tech. And, well, Tech really struggling in that third set, hitting at 0.29. So you want to see that percentage increase here in the fourth set for Virginia Tech to try to keep themselves in this match.
You see the difference in the hit percentage for UVA there at 441. And an advantage of 25-13 in that third set, a completely different story. And again, it was a third set that maybe didn't have the rhythm of those first two of the back and forth. We saw a couple of key injuries. We saw some stoppages on the reviews. The good news is, in terms of those injuries, both players seemingly able to continue here. We were able to see Mosley come back in the mid-stage of that third set, and Jana Francis looks like she's going to begin this fourth. So good news for both fan bases that whatever lingering effects there may be of those injuries, they're not going to prevent two of the great playmakers on this night from continuing.
That is huge news. Really exciting for both teams, to know that it's maybe not a season-ending injury. Again, you want to keep these athletes involved all season long, and there has been one little switch on the Tech side in the libero position. Kylie Tom is now wearing that libero jersey.
And we did see Mosley come back in the middle stages of that second set. So again, the good news is there was a continuation for those two at some point. We'll just have to wait and see what happens, because as the first point goes to Virginia here in this fourth set, we remind you it's a long ACC season. It's just the first of the games for Virginia Tech, just the second for the Hoos as they work on that blocking game a little further and a little more effectively here in the fourth set to make it 2-0. But there's a lot of volleyball left after this one tonight, the point. Here's another look at it.
8th block of the match here for the Cavs. Again, it's that block, it's that rhythm, it's that timing that they've got down pat.
And you look at the way Virginia closed out that third set. This is just a continuation. Contact up on the front line that pushed that on out, so the point will go to Virginia Tech. The Hokies team that can ill afford to allow Virginia to slide away here. Get one more look at the contact.
It's right over the top of the block. Able to catch fingers.
Oh, a good start, so critical for Virginia Tech right here, you would think. And they're able to get it as that lands out, and the team split the first 4 points. This is a must-have, obviously, for the Hokies. They're trying to force the sprint to 15. By winning this fourth set, Virginia would like to close it on down right here, right now. That's what's in the mind of Novakovic and that group up on the front. They'll go back through Novakovic again, and she tries to go through the block. Won't work. Standing right there, waiting, was Serco. And Virginia Tech is out front 3-2.
Here's Serco on the right side of your screen, straight into the attack attempt.
And a little cleanup duty necessary just in front of that bench on the far side. I haven't had a chance to talk about it that much tonight, Allison, but before it gets away from us, this is Set the Expectation night. These two teams getting together for such a good cause. Something maybe we'll get into a little further before it's done, but both these teams raising awareness on things far more important, far outside the game of volleyball itself. As the Hokies get the kill, Virginia Tech takes a 4-2 advantage. You talk so much about the rivalry and the Commonwealth Clash, but we've seen both these programs come together over the years and really rise above the rivalry for the causes that matter, and they've certainly done that again here tonight with the Set the Expectation night, an emphasis on sexual violence and its effect on victims and entire families. Certainly something that is a point of emphasis because of the lifelong consequences that it carries, and we tip our caps to both programs, both schools, for making it a point tonight to raise awareness on this very important issue.
It shows that, again, it goes well beyond the game. It goes well beyond the sports for these student athletes. They're so involved in their communities, and they enjoyed having the opportunity to raise awareness to such an impactful cause such as this.
And that's the reason you see the purple lines here tonight. It's that desire for these two programs to raise awareness in the Set the Expectation game. That lands in, found its way into the back corner, and a point that will have the Hoo Crew on their feet here in Mim Gym. Watch how much of a difference the dig makes, and then here comes the finish.
Out of system, too, with Jarman getting that set, but good to see Francis come out with that kill.
That's back set, and that is right through the block. And we have said it over and over again. When Marissa Serko gets a head of steam on that far side, she is tough to handle, and she is the leader in kills on both sides in this match tonight, having secured 13 of them with a 5-3 advantage for Virginia Tech here in the fourth set. And the response true for Virginia, and Jana Francis seemingly unfazed by whatever the issues were earlier.
Here's Francis coming in from outside to meet that set. Again, her approach on the ball is really good, and another good set.
Yeah, from a long way back there. And maybe the best part of that point for Hoos fans, the fact that Francis was able to land without any effects. You know, you wonder when you come back from a landing injury like she had a little bit earlier, the next time you have to rise high above the net, what happens then? No signs of any lack of comfort there for Francis after that. In fact, she goes right back to it, even though this is too strong. And the Zach Error will give the point to Virginia Tech. So the Hokies hoping right now that they can keep one of their outstanding young players, the sophomore out of Florence, Kentucky, Katie Smith, back there in service. And she's a bit too strong, so a service error from Smith. Side out, give it back to Virginia. If you have not been with us tonight, maybe you're just finding the contest, just joining us. Novakovic with 4 of them already on that back line. Service aces, that is, in the contest. 4 of the 9 for UVA. Virginia Tech, knowing one of the key components right now is keep her off the serve line. Hokies will. Good response right in the middle of the D.
Quick reflexes here, and that was the setter in Talon Jackson getting the over on 2.
And had to have it to get Novakovic right back off that serve line. After Zier's serve, it goes back her direction, but not quite able to line up that right hand. Kill for Virginia, and here comes Jana Francis now back to the serve line for UVA. Virginia Beach native puts it back in play once again. It's off that front block, and a point to the Hokies. Power right through. See the energy there as Talamazzi puts enough force on it to turn it into a Hokies point. How quickly that was delivered by Matthews, a bit of a surprise. And in the end, it will be UVA point.
Cavaliers covering the front of the net, getting right in front of it. Every attack opportunity for the Hokies. They've shut down a lot of opportunities.
Kelsey Miller on this night, when she has already made a little history, creeping into the top 10. Clemson, that 1,300 mark. Something that was a milestone watch for the Virginia faithful coming into tonight. She'll stay on the serve line after securing the 8th Virginia point. Cavaliers trying to tie it up after the early Tech lead right here. Push toward the middle, but the response is there. And in the end, so is the usual suspect for Virginia Tech. There's Serko once again.
Center of the court just left unattended by the Cavaliers.
Serko, told you prior to that, had already become the first to work her way to double digits in kills. Now she sits at 14 to lead all scorers. And Virginia Tech starting to find a little bit of a rhythm now here, Allison.
Up by 3. The Hokies stringing together a set of points. McKenzie staying on the service line, and they're liking this rotation right now.
In a must-have set for the Hokies. Virginia Tech putting one of their better runs of the night together. Trying to stop it right where it was Jarman. Hokies have a response once more. And And then a little miscommunication that allowed it to land right in the heart of that defense, a point for the Hoos.
That's frustrating. A miscommunication effort for the Hokies. You see here, they get that second touch by the libero. Again, that's when you're out of system. The second touch, you want it to come from your setter. So the team kind of freezing up, not communicating well there.
More like what you see there is at least the design, even though the Virginia block right up on the net makes the difference this time. And this has been the MO for UVA in the last couple of sets. It's Jarman right up front with Cyprian once again.
It's that positioning on the block.
No, that's what you have to do. Go through it. And that's what Kai Young does for Virginia Tech here. As the Hokies take it back and place it into the hands of the Sterling Virginia native, Kylie Thomas, who, as you said, took on prior to this set that libero jersey. As you look at Mosley over on the sideline right now, and you think in terms of what she means to Virginia Tech, and the fact that she's got that left foot propped up, it becomes a storyline that will be well beyond what we've seen here tonight. And what's been the storyline of the night for Virginia? What you just witnessed. Another ace, and this one for Kristen Leland.
10 service aces now for the Cavaliers.
They picked a night to do it as they battle it out with their rival in search of a first conference win for one of these two. That's going to be out of reach when Novakovic delivers.
And credit there really goes to Megan Wilson. A perfect set. A perfect set typically comes about 2-3 feet off the net, and that's where she placed it on the dime for Novakovic.
Prime swinging location for number 7. UVA out front 13-12. So the lead Virginia Tech had built now having disappeared. And it's Virginia following that moment in which there was that little bit of communication gap for Virginia Tech when they seemed to be in control. It's Virginia now flying around everywhere in rhythm.
Cavs really composed. Their confidence has only grown throughout this match.
Response for the Hokies. 11 kills for Matthews, 9 of them for Billiard. Novakovic, she's right there near the top. Jana Francis, who's returned after a little bit of a take a deep breath moment for the fans here when she left in the last set. It's that group that has really been emerging for Aaron Smith and his coaching staff that have pieced it together in unison here, really in sets 3 and 4 for Virginia tonight. Tam with the serve, but the service error, point Virginia. Cavaliers up 2 in the 4th set. They also have the advantage in sets by 1. Well, it is Set the Expectation night at Mim Gym as the Commonwealth clash between UVA and Virginia Tech also raises awareness, Allison, on this very important issue.
It also brings these two programs together. We talk about the rivalry, but in unison for one cause that they both get to support and raise awareness about. Again, they're raising awareness about sexual violence and relationship violence.
Something both schools do a nice job rising above the rivalry, often for good common causes. This is another one of those highlighted here tonight. And how about the no-look effort right there from Talon Jackson? We've seen Jackson straight on, very effective for Virginia Tech throughout, but this one of the more flashy moments of the night on both sides.
Jackson with 5 kills. A lot of those on those no-look or second touch passes.
Just went straight across that time when Virginia Tech needed it. And now a heads-up play to let that one go by Rachel Tam. And so much of the good work being done now by Kylie Thomas, who has had to step in for Virginia Tech in the absence of Logan Mosley. who had the ankle wrapped a little bit earlier tonight. You see just how close that was on the far side. And it may be one that is going to be reviewed here. Looks like we're going to have our third review of the evening here, Allison.
Another challenge being shown to the referees.
Well, an important point. As it stands right now, 15 all between Virginia and Virginia Tech. As you see the coaching staff using this opportunity to discuss how they're going to proceed in the match. It has a double-edged type moment here for these teams. When you get this stoppage and you're taking a look and the replay environment has arrived, you got to, whatever happens here, get your team ready, use it like a timeout for what's next as well.
It also, though, slows the momentum of the game up, which we saw throughout that third set. The game got stopped by a number of injuries as well as calls and timeouts and so forth, and neither team really found that much of a rhythm after those called timeouts and after those stoppages of play. And we see here what's being challenged, and it's going to be a touch on the block from the Hokies side. That's what they're looking for here. So from that angle, it's difficult to see if the ball maybe touched the inside of the finger or not on the block, and it looks like the call stands.
After review, they're saying no touch, so it will stay with Virginia Tech. Point to the Hokies. And these 30 points between these two teams in this fourth set remain split. 15 all. Smith back there for the Hokies to put it in action. Smith really the player that you keep an eye on even further in the absence of Mosley. And boy, Novakovic up on the front once again as you see her working her way back to the serve line. Has just risen to the occasion tonight.
Continues to climb and really strong off that vertical. She gets well above and beyond the block that sets up.
10 kills for Novakovic. Joins Matthews as the double-digit kills notcher in this contest. Those two for UVA. And Francis, again, having left a bit earlier, but back in full force now. And it's Francis with the latest impact for UVA.
A really good spread of attack here. You see Francis picking the good angle inside the block to avoid it.
They go right after the direction of Kylie Thomas there, and then here's an ace that lands just inside it. And oh, by the way, that just happens to be the fifth of the night for Novakovic. And 11 of them for Virginia tonight. Service aces, that is.
Such great serves, and that was a focus for this program coming into the match. They wanted to work on their serve game, not only how they serve the ball, but also on how they receive it. And you can see that the Cavaliers have improved in their service game here tonight. Leading the way, Novakovic.
So much emphasis on the big swing capability when Novakovic is on the net. Talk about her volleyball IQ. They love how crafty she can be in certain moments. Coaching staff telling you just how aware she is regardless of the situation. But she is in a groove right now on the serve line. Came in with 24 aces and is on the doorstep of 30 now as a result of her work here tonight.
She led the team last year with those 30 service aces. But also here on ACC Network, we have The Huddle, and that's our signature football show hosted by Jack Collinsworth with analysts Eric McLean, EJ Emanuel, and Mark Richt. They'll have the comprehensive previews of the weekend slate of games and also keep you updated on all things ACC football. Again, we are in football season, primetime football right now, and that'll be tomorrow morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on ACC Network as well as the ESPN app.
That's a primetime match between two rivals in the ACC. And Virginia Tech is hoping to force into the fifth set. Who's trying to avoid it? And right now out front by 3, make it 2 as Virginia Tech works it across and pulls within a couple at 18-16. But this feels like, Allison, critical time right now for the Hokies. And I mean, just exactly where we are, closing in on 20 in the fourth set, a must-have for Virginia Tech. now's the time where you would think they really want to take the reins.
They're keeping themselves alive, though, in this set. They're climbing their way back. It's been a little bit of a slow progression, but they've been able to maintain their side of the court in efficiency. They're getting good passes, and how about that service ace?
That is the latest between these two teams. 14 of them when you look at both sides, and a couple of them for Virginia Tech, and you see the celebration that ensues because, again, now is the time for the Hokies, and they get that type of response. Boy, good work to keep that alive by Tam.
Good coverage.
And then Young does the same thing, but it's to no avail. Francis and company celebrate the 19-17 lead.
Francis building on her night. Nice contact with that long serve set over to the right side.
Francis now joining Novakovic and Matthews. You talk in terms of double digits in kills. And Virginia, obviously on the flip side of that, you talk about the Hokies and what they would like to do right now. Virginia can sense it. They can smell it. They find themselves 6 away from going ahead and closing this thing down.
Just one away from that 20-point plateau that you want to get to, and that's the 20th point here in the fourth set.
That'll get you there. Matthews in the middle, and this is going to be worth a look from the net right here.
Here's Matthews again exploiting the center. That's her spot. That's where she works really well. Got on top of it.
Take you right there inside the action and right atop the tape on the ACC network. A little bit too strong on the return. Not a lot of that tonight for Serco. She has been on target throughout, but it allows Virginia to build a 21-18 advantage. And you can begin to feel as well the buzz in this building as Virginia gets closer to closing it out. They seek a second straight victory over Virginia Tech after dropping 6 in a row prior to that 5-set thriller a year ago. Who's wanting to make sure there is no 5-set thriller here? They grab another point, force the timeout, and Virginia 3 away from nailing it down.
Really good time for a timeout. Regroup yourselves. For Virginia, you don't want to get ahead of yourself and think the match is over because it's only a 4-point differential between the two programs, and you want to close out this fourth set. Learn how to get that victory, how to close it out. So important for this Cavaliers program. Again, they're very fatigued coming off that very difficult match just 2 nights ago against Pitt, while on the other hand, for Tech, they've had about a week of a rest coming into this match, but it doesn't get any easier. They have that Pitt team on Sunday, so they're trying to preserve their energy a bit. But for right now, Cavaliers have nothing to lose. Go out here full force, stay composed, stay in the game mentally, close this out.
How about 20 blocks tonight for the Virginia, our last game for the Virginia Cavaliers against Tech the last time around? And we talked about it. This series, I mean, you're talking about a series that if Virginia wins this game tonight, it's going to go 37-37 all time between these
all
two.
Evened up.
And Virginia will have pulled back even with back-to-back wins, primarily because of the blocking game. As you see those 10 tonight, half that total from that impressive 20-block performance the last time around.
And those 10 blocks really important, as well as the 12 service aces. It's been a combination of that front line in the blocking category for the Cavaliers, as well as that serve game that's been happening. So a really good full team collective effort coast to coast on the Virginia side.
And you think this Virginia team is a little tired now? Think about what happens after tonight. They could certainly use the momentum of a win over Virginia Tech. They go on the road for 4 consecutive ACC matches at Florida State, Miami, Boston College, and Syracuse after tonight, before returning home. And they're going to maybe head out with a record night in service ace. If you talk about what they're doing tonight, here's another service ace for Virginia. The block's the story, the service ace is the story, and here comes the latest from Miller.
That's 5 service aces for Miller, 5 for Novakovic.
And 13 as a group.
An impressive effort.
And Virginia just 1 point from the doorstep of victory on the night. Hilliard, a good job just to keep that alive on that back line for Virginia Tech and Thomas. And a point that the Hokies had to have secured here.
Desperate point here by Talamazzi. going long to the back corner of the court.
So Virginia Tech handing it to Abby McKenzie. And remember, this set, if it goes Virginia way, ends it. Billiard thinking along those lines. It is match point for the Cavaliers.
Sharp angle inside for Billiard, working off the block, using it to her advantage. Again, cutting inside that closest hand to the middle of the net. That's that angle, that sharp decision from Billiard that's paid off. Set point.
Fans on their feet inside Mim Gym, wanting to send this team on the road for their toughest ACC road trip of the year with plenty of energy. And that's just a bit strong. Hokies keep it alive for the moment.
And you can't get ahead of yourself yet, even if it is set point, match point rather.
Serve on match point from Thomas for Virginia Tech. Go to Novakovic. No return on this one, and no fifth set necessary this time around. Virginia has evened the all-time series with Virginia Tech at 37 wins apiece. In this, the 74th meeting all-time between the two schools out of the Commonwealth.
A lot of different storylines that made this win possible for the Cavaliers. We talk about the incredible serve game that they put on tonight. What a show from that service line. We talk about the blocks. But another story, a really good spread of attack. They have 4 different athletes in double-digit kills. You talk about that efficiency. They worked it tonight, and they put on a show here inside Memorial Gymnasium.
Virginia winners of 6 of their last 8 contests. They only won 8 games a year ago. They've already eclipsed that win total with a 9th here tonight. So more wins than a season ago and a lot of season left for UVA. Your final thoughts on what we witnessed tonight?
Not just a win, but again, you're trying to shake off that difficult 3-set loss to Pitt 2 nights ago. They did that. They came out here. They are 1-1 in the ACC. Unfortunately for Tech, you start off ACC play with loss, and you're going up against, again, Pitt, one of the top teams in the nation right now. So they want to put this game behind them, focus on that one going ahead, but altogether a really great, exciting rivalry matchup here tonight.
First 2 wins in the Commonwealth Clash. Soccer and now volleyball go the direction of the Who's. They do it with tremendous work up on the net in the blocking game. Service aces, another story of the night. It was a memorable Friday night after all for UVA. That'll do it for Allison Gaskins, myself, Jason Patterson, our entire crew. We say so long from Mim Gym in Charlottesville, where Virginia wins it in 4 sets. You can watch this game on replay. All games on the ESPN family of networks. Simply download the ESPN app.